right, let's get down into it. So Larissa obviously teed us up for a really good regional breakdown here of those Coastal Bend teams. We start off with looking at some of the ranked teams in 5A Division 1. It is the aforementioned Corpus Christi Flower Bluff Hornets sitting at undefeated on the year, and they completely control their own destiny here. So hold with me, because they're playing Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial on a Friday night for the district title. That would be 3 in a row for them, which is very good.
Correct. Is it?
That's my analysis. Very good.
They're good. Next.
So go back to last week.
Guys, come on.
This is my graphic.
Go back to last week. An insane overtime victory against PSJA North. So they went down there, beat them by 1 point, 28-27. That was key for almost shoring up that district, because if they lose, you're looking at a 3-way tie between Flower Bluff, PSJA North, and Vets, because obviously Flower Bluff has the win over PSJA North, but North has a loss to Vets. So if Vets beats Bluff, you're looking at everybody having one loss and they all 3 beat each other. This is why week 11 is so fun.
Yes.
So that's when you start going, okay, is there point differentials here? If you're unfamiliar with how the Texas high school football scope works when it comes to deciding tiebreakers in your own district, that is up to each DEC. The district executive committee gets to come in and they have their own rules set in place. So everyone's different. But if you're looking at point differential here, Flower Bluff, let's just see, PSJA North lost to Vets 35, or beat Vets 35-7. So obviously there's only the 1 point differential between Flower Bluff and PSJA North. So the 35-7 is going to be key in figuring out just how much Vets would have to beat Flower Bluff by to solidify them as the district champion or not. But for Flower Bluff, their quarterback, Jaden Paluso, his connection with senior wide receiver Andre Mims continues to be lethal. They're outscoring opponents 439-77. Okay.
That's insane.
Not only does that mean this offense can go, it means this defense has been stout. They've pitched 4 different shutouts on the year, led by junior linebacker Tristan Wilson. Senior quarterback Owen Agus has been incredible as well. Really, really like what this Flower Bluff team brings to the table. I think that you can pencil them in as the favorites over Veterans Memorial, but in a district like that, wilder things have
You just
happened.
don't know. Yeah, you just don't know.
Incredibly excited. That's the E word I was looking for, because I was fixing to say to see what Coach Elwood's team does. It was a lot of E's back to back. But big District 15 5A Division 1 title belt on the line on Friday.
Another district title belt on the line
I have
Friday.
a feeling this is going to be a theme of this show.
I think so too. Moving on down to 4A Division 1. It's number 8, Bay City. Larissa already talked about that a little bit, but this is a team that has kind of recently come on into the spotlight the past couple of years, and that's because of Coach Jones there. He took over in 2020 after this team went 0-9. So he has absolutely flipped the script here in recent years. They're 8-1 on the season so far. Only loss coming from Edna, which we'll talk about them in a little bit. Edna has been absolutely just rolling.
Yeah, they have.
So not a bad loss there for Bay City at all. They've made the playoffs the past 2 seasons. Of course, they're missing their defensive lineman, Carlin Jones, who graduated last year, now at USC. So that's really cool. Super important game, obviously, coming up this week for District 15 4A Division 1 standings. Bay City will be playing Port Lavaca Calhoun, and of course that will be...
Dude, focus on that mascot matchup for a second. Black Cats versus Sand Crabs. Inject that into my veins.
You sent me a couple of cute emojis earlier when we were talking about Port Lavaca. It was the crab and the beach.
I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that.
Someone clip that.
That's how their defensive line's going to look.
Okay. Hope maybe against Bay City, but the Black Cats are rolling, so I don't know. That offensive line's pretty good, but super important game. I like this offense a lot. I think that they are Bay City. I think that they're very complete. Quarterback Alex Estrada, Larissa already mentioned him. He's rolling right now, 3-year starter for that team, and his favorite target, I'll talk about a little bit later, Zylan Williams. And of course, running back Jada Andrews. So they are very, very balanced offensively, which will give, I think, this Port Lavaca Calhoun team some trouble defensively. Should be a tasty game. But let's look at regionally here for the playoffs. So last year they were in Region 3. They got knocked out by Kilgore in the area round. Now they're moving down to Region 4. So if Bay City ends up getting the first seed in Region 4 in District 15 4A Division 1, you're likely going to be the favorites to make it to the regional finals.
I would agree with that. Yes.
Yes. Because if you lose to Friday to Port Lavaca Calhoun, you'll get the second seed in that district. You could be facing an Austin LBJ team in the regional semis.
Yeah, that's tough.
And they'd be tough to get past to make it to the regional finals. So obviously, if you're Bay City, you're wanting that 1 seed, so you don't have to meet LBJ earlier in the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's what makes this one so enticing, because it's not just that the district championships is on the line. Like, that's awesome. Everyone wants to hoist a gold ball tomorrow, or not tomorrow. Today's Wednesday. That still throws me off.
I know, because
some people could be hosting or hoisting gold balls tomorrow,
right?
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Or some people could be watching this tomorrow.
Also that. Regardless, the fact that the implication to make it to the regional final versus the regional semis with an Austin LBJ team, because even in the regional final, I think you would still be the favorite.
I think so too. Yeah.
I mean, you would likely end up against LBJ, but you can extend,
Right, exactly.
You can extend a week.
A little bit further. So definitely going to be locked into that game. That should be a fun, tasty one. Port Lavaca Calhoun, of course, undefeated. Bay City 8-1. So, and undefeated in district play, I should say that, not on the full year, but should be a tasty game.
Moving down now to 4A Division 2, and that's where you will find Mr. Excited in Michael Troutman and his number 2 ranked Sinton Pirates. 9-0 on the season, 3-0 in district. You'll remember last year they went 10-3, had another fantastic run, and ended up losing to Wimberley in the regional finals. Keep that little nugget in your brain for a second. So 15 4A Division 2. What you're looking at right now is, again, a district title on the line. So Sinton beat Cuero 23-18. Cuero beat Rockport Fulton 34-14. Those scores are very similar. Sinton has a massive game on Friday against Rockport Fulton, because if you're Sinton, you can win. You can go undefeated in the regular season. You can win the district title. You can secure that first seed. Everything is great. I think that's how it'll play out. But if chaos ensues and Rockport Fulton was to win, you're looking at another 3-way tie there between Cuero, Rockport Fulton, and Sinton. Obviously, all of them having different wins. So Sinton has won the district championship like the last 5 or 6 years. This one will be even more impressive, because we were shocked in that 15 4A Division 2 region when realignment came out, or district rather, because that is a much more even playing field than what Sinton has usually had in their district play. And you're seeing that shape out now. But Sinton is going to run you until they cannot run you anymore. Their senior running back, Derek Garcia, is averaging 137 yards per game.
He's fantastic. And I'll talk about him in players to watch, but he's been the workhorse, straw that stirs the drink for that offense.
He is something special, and that's not to mention their senior quarterback Tristan Hansen he's averaging 80 yards on the ground. He's a dual threat. He can drop one when you need him to, but Troutman doesn't want to do that. They just want to run you to death and control the pace of that game. Micah Green is another one, but if you had to ask me right now, I think Sinton goes on to get the dub here. I think they secure the district championship, and I think we're looking at another rematch between Wimberley and Sinton in a potential regional final, which would be a lot of fun.
Feisty.
Because Wimberley's back up to full health now.
Oh yeah.
The moment that they started getting people out of that injury bug, it has looked like Doug Warren's Texans team is the team.
They're rolling again.
But Sinton's going to give it all they got. So very excited to watch the result of Sinton and Rockport Fulton this week.
A team that's already locked up a district title. One of your favorites.
Yes. The Cowboys of Edna.
The Cowboys of Edna, the number 2 team in 3A Division 1. Man, they look like they're the number 2 team in the state right now in 3A Division 1. Jimmy Mitchell has this team firing on all cylinders right now. They're 9-0 on the season, averaging 46 points a game, have pitched 4 shutouts. So they are both fundamentally sound on both sides of the ball right now. They're rolling. And you might say, okay, well, who have they played? Well, let's look at their resume, because this resume is one of the more impressive resumes, I think, in the state. They got a win over Vanderbilt Industrial, which is a pretty good win, because Vanderbilt Industrial is...
They're a little down this year.
But they're playing up, correct?
Yes.
Vanderbilt Industrial, the aforementioned Bay City, 35-7. And that's playing up.
That was the biggest win of the year.
That was
for them.
Everybody's eyes opened at that point, because not only are you playing up a classification, you're playing up a Division 2.
Yeah, you're playing up against a state-ranked team.
Correct. They beat Refugio. That's a huge one, too. Of course, they're playing down a classification, but
any win over Refugio
is a good win.
Yes.
They shut out Orange Grove, a pretty good Orange Grove team. And then they beat Goliad later, or a couple of weeks ago, and that's a district game. Goliad's probably locked up that second team in 15-3A, Division 1. So they already have the resume, and they've already been tested so far this season heading into the playoffs. All right, now let's look at it at a broader scope of things in the playoffs. So they will go Region 4, like they did last season. And man, looking at Region 4, I don't think there's anybody that can compete with this team in Region 4.
I can give you one. I think you're going to see there are 2 options here. You're either going to see, and when would they, hang on, let me do some math here. So I think that you will either get Edna Llano again in the regional final, straight up, or if, let's see, 13, the second seed in 13B would be, you're going to see Edna take on Universal City Randolph.
That's a pretty solid
regional
team.
semifinals. So those would be the 2 most difficult games for them. If they can get past the Rohawks, which I think that they can do, then they would end up playing Llano in the regional finals again.
And I think they'll probably end up facing Franklin again in the state semis. I think Franklin is probably your favorite coming out of Region 3. They had kind of a weird start. Columbus is good
Hitchcock.
too. Hitchcock
but
is
they're
good
gonna
too.
Beat up
but
on
I
each
think they're
other.
going to beat up on each other early on, which leaves Franklin. Yeah,
I would put Edna Columbus down.
And then Hitchcock is hurt too. It's just like Columbus is hurt. We don't know Grayson Rigdon's status heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think Columbus has more weapons than just Rigdon though. Like
they do. They do.
More.
But also, I think Franklin's kind of figured it out too. Yeah. I think Franklin has figured it out later on in the season. I mean, I don't know. Region 3 is kind of a mess. I think
you'll see Columbus and Franklin. My guess right now would be Columbus and Franklin, and then Llano Edna, and then you would have Edna Columbus. That's
Edna
my
Columbus.
pick.
Yeah, no, that's a good one.
Want to know my predictions for the regions?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. It's tough. But I think that's what makes this week so much fun. Is
I think they're by far the favorite in
Region 4. I think so too. Region 3 is a mess, but
Did
Region 4, I think Edna's coming out.
I said that. I think they're the favorites in Region 4. Yeah. Edna. Want to make sure everybody heard that.
Speak it to the people. Okay.
All right. Moving on now to 3A Division 2, and that's where we find the Bravos of East Bernard. They are currently sitting at 2 in our final rankings of the season, 9-0, 5-0 in district, and head coach Jeremy Jenkins has been the thing to help them figure it out. So the biggest thing heading into this year was the fact that, if you remember, Jeremy Jenkins is in his first year there at East Bernard. He came from Gilmer Harmony. I don't know if you remember back a year or two when Harmony came out of absolutely nowhere. Absolutely
I remember that,
nowhere, and made it all the way, I think, I know they made it to the regional finals. I can't remember if they made it to the state semifinals or not. There's no way to figure that out. How could we ever know?
It's not like we have a whole database of it.
Yes. Wade Boss stepped down after 8 seasons. In comes Jeremy Jenkins. And the reason that was so stinking notable is because East Bernard is part of Slot T Mafia.
Slot T Mafia.
Until this year when high-flying Jeremy Jenkins, because, I mean,
Came
you
in
remember
and-
when Harmony was absolutely cooking with Crisco, it was all because they were able to just score an insane amount of points on you. So it's not the high-flying Harmony team that we saw under Jeremy Jenkins, but they ditched the Slot T for the first time in like forever in that part of the state, and now they're more on a balanced spread attack. So they've had a really good showing with Alex Henriquez, I believe is how you say it. So he's not scared to run the ball. They're not scared to run the ball. It's a little bit different look than what a normal Jeremy Jenkins squad is, but they are able to throw it just as well. So district title on the line against an also undefeated team in the district ranks in Tidehaven, last year's runner-up in 3A Division II. You remember they went on and lost to Gunner in the state championships, but put up almost as good of a fight as we've seen anybody do against Gunner. 30-14 the final on that one. But Tidehaven, David Lucio taking on Jeremy Jenkins East Bernard squad for the district championship this week. And then I think if you scale out a little bit, you're going to go in Region 4. Region 4 of 3 Division 2 is deadly. You've got number 3, I think, Poth.
I can't get the
out of
website
awesome. Out of District 15, they're playing for their district title against a 6-0 Dilly squad. So you will play either Poth or Dilly, depending on that result in the by-district round. That doesn't make sense. No, that would be later. In the area round. And Lexington is coming out of District 13. They actually fell against Blanco, so they'll get the second seed.
So they'll still be down there at the bottom of the bracket. Yeah.
But between Poth, Dilly, Lexington, Blanco, Region 4 is no gimme for this East Bernard squad. So they've got to make it through Tidehaven first, add in Tidehaven into that mix. But if you're looking for a region, especially in a lot of brackets, Region 4 tends to get a little lost every now and then. It is not getting lost in 3A Division 2. So excited to see what happens on Friday night. First off, though, Tidehaven and East Bernard squaring off.
That's interesting. Tidehaven, of course, kind of down. They lost their do-it-all guy in Joseph Dodds last year to Baylor, but definitely not one to sleep on, I wouldn't say. Also, Harmony made it to the regional semis last year and lost to Newton.
I think it was 2 years ago that they made the really long run. I think they made it to a regional final.
Yeah. But anyways,
you picked them.
Let's close it.
I remember that.
I did. I'll have to go back and look. All these years are running together. I don't even know how many years I've been in this company. It all feels like
it's been 84 years.
It all feels like one large company, you know, or one large year when I've really been here for like 3. Anyway,
she hates working with me. That's
no, I
saying.
don't. That you put words in my mouth. That's not true. That is not true.
She hates us, V&A.
It's been one long year. That's what I got from that.
Oh gosh, that's funny. That was really funny.
Just go, it's been a long year.
No, it's the way you said it. You said it like an old woman.
No, I said it like the Titanic thing.
I know. It's been 84 years. And then she said, it's been one long year.
Moving on to 2A Division 1.
Let's close it out. We got 2 ranked teams in 2A Division 1. No stranger to the number 2 team in the state in 2A Division 1. It's Refugio. I always have a tough time saying Refugio. I don't know what it is, but
Refugio.
Refugio. Yes. The train keeps on rolling, even with the coaching change.
Yep.
I think a couple of us thought that this team would take a step back because they lost longtime head coach Jason Herring. I mean, he'd been there for 17, 18 years and really built up this program to what it is today. Now, of course, their new head coach, Drew Cox, had been an assistant under Herring for a long time. So maybe not as much of a step back, but I think some people may have thought, okay, well, you know, trying to learn a new coach and the way that he does things.
It's very Robbie Jones taking over for Tim Buchanan / Steve Wood.
Correct. Obviously,
it's giving Alito.
They haven't missed a beat so far this season. They're 8-1, only loss coming to Edna. Edna's just rolling. Edna keeps on rolling,
Do.
But of course, a really good loss. They only lost by 1 score, and again, that's playing up a classification. 1 classification, excuse me, and 2 divisions. This team is crazy, okay? They're outscoring opponents 542-69. Nice. And they're averaging 60 points a game. And like Larissa mentioned, they haven't allowed a single point in district play. So their last 5 games, they've outscored opponents 353-0.
When I had the pleasure to talk to Jason Herring before the state championship game last year. And
you did.
If you talk to Jason Herring, you know one of 2 things. 1, incredible ball knowing Jack. 2, he's going to call you Hoss. Doesn't matter.
I love that.
Girl, guy. Hoss, let me tell you. So I got Hoss a couple of times, which was like that means like he trusts you. So that was like a real like endearing moment for me. But he goes, I'll tell you what, Hoss, we're a year early. I mean, their lines were full of sophomores last year.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of their skill talent were younger junior sophomores. He was like, there was no reason that we should have been there last year. He anticipated they were going to be really good this upcoming year, but he did not think as of last year that was going to be the case.
Which set up Coach Cox really well with a really solid team. They have a powerful offensive attack led by quarterback Keelan Brown and running back Jordan King. They like to run the ball a lot, like Larissa said. And they're playing Three Rivers this week for the 16 2A Division I title. And then Three Rivers is, of course, undefeated.
Oh, that was 2 years ago that I talked to Herring. Sorry, my bad.
Oh, yeah.
Because Gado
knocked him out in the regional finals last year. Yeah. But again, they were still young. Like, this is still kind of that same group that's still mixed in there with them. So they'll go Region 4. Like we just said, Gado got the best of them last year. And wouldn't you know it, number 4, Gado. They're ranked. They're not going away. Another team, of course, that's rolling on. They're 8-1 on the season as well. Only loss coming from the aforementioned East Bernard. They're all just I love that they all play each other in the Coastal Bend. All the ranked teams in the Coastal Bend, regardless of classification or division, play each other for like in non-district play, and it's a lot of fun. I love it. They're lethal in the spread formation. Gado is. They're led by quarterback Bryce Ullman, and he's got a plethora of wide receivers around him. Landon Hicks, Austin Pena, Kane Hayden, Luke Burris. There's no shortage. They have depth at that position, and that's good because that's what they like to do. They like to throw the ball. They like to air it out. They've already locked up that top spot in 15 2A Division I. They played Danbury this week. Danbury's, they're second to last in that district, so I think you can pretty much assume that Gado's got that in the bag for this week. But again, like we said, they'll also go Region 4. Here's the scenario that we're kind of looking at if you want a broader scope of things. If Refugio beats Three Rivers, like we assume that they're going to do on Friday, they will not meet Gado again. They will not meet Gado until the regional semis this year. Because last year, Gado locked up the second place spot in that district, which means they didn't meet last year until the regional finals.
Yes.
And again, if Refugio doesn't win that they'll be the second team again in that district.
And it would likely be the same.
And it'll likely be the same. But we're guessing that Refugio and Gado are both going to win and lock up their district title, so they will not meet until the regional semis. And I think that's kind of the likely case scenario for Region 4 and 2A
Both
Division
of these teams should meet in the semis this year.
Yeah, I think so too. Very fun. But that's definitely Refugio and Three Rivers is a game to keep your eye on this week, just to kind of
check in on the first half.
Check in on the first half, see what's going on. But we'll probably have that game on Schoolwork Graphics.
Yes.
For Texas football tonight.
So there you go. The ranked teams in the Coastal Bend area. A lot to watch out for. A lot of district championships on the line. They just keep beating up on each other down there.
They sure do.
Now to round us all out, players to watch.
Why do you always say it like that?
Because I know that you're fixing to get so excited, so I have to balance you out.
Oh, I am excited. I'm talking about players. Okay. A couple of these players Larissa already mentioned, so I know it's valid. I know that my Cruton knowledge is valid because Larissa validated me on that. Starting off in Corpus Christi Flower Bluff, 2025 quarterback Jaden Pelosi, a true gunslinger in this offense, like Larissa mentioned. His throws are real clean, and his accuracy is kind of the thing that really sticks out to me. He's thrown for 2,600 yards this season, 39 touchdowns, and has only thrown 4 interceptions. And 3 of those interceptions came from their game against Marshall, and they still won 40-0. So this is a good team all around.
Yeah, no kidding.
This is really a good team all around. And he's completing 78% of his passes this year.
He's good.
He is a really, really good ball player. He ranks among one of the top in the state with almost 130 career touchdown passes. And he will play football and baseball at UTRGV. I think UTRGV is getting a steal in this guy. He is real dang good. And then one of his favorite targets we'll talk about, Corpus Christi Flower Bluff 2025 wide receiver Cameron Dixon. Vanderbilt commit. Powers actually told me that he was very interested in Michigan State, and then he committed to Vanderbilt. Which, very excited. Vanderbilt is a fantastic school, obviously, this year.
He'll get a great education.
He'll get a great education. But for my Spartan heart, that makes me a little sad.
Yeah.
But this got an interesting story. So he was born in Virginia. Then he moved to Tennessee when his mother was deployed in the military. Moved back to Virginia. And then moved back to Tennessee again. Then back to Virginia. And then came to Texas. So he's lived everywhere.
Yeah,
he's lived everywhere. He was one of the main factors, I think, in helping the Hornets in an amazing semifinal run last season. 40 catches for 520 yards and 9 touchdowns already this season. He's just an athlete. And last year he played in all 3 phases of the game, but I think he's focused on that wide receiver spot this year because that's what he's going to be playing at Vanderbilt. He clocked a 10.8 on the 100-meter dash, so speed is a real factor, a real standout factor for this guy. He's very fun to watch, but those two are kind of the dynamic duo, I'd say, there for Corpus Christi Flower Bluff, two that you really need to watch out for in the playoffs. Staying in Corpus Christi Miller 2025 running back Broderick Taylor, also known as Turbo Taylor,
which is
inherently
amazing.
Yeah, Turbo Taylor. I love that.
Taylor.
I love that because his speed is off the charts. He's racked up over 4,000 yards on the ground and 58 touchdowns over his varsity career. He's kind of an all-purpose back. He can run the ball through a brick wall, catch passes out of the backfield, can create explosive plays. But one of the things that's kind of different about this guy is that he's got great pass protection ability too. He can be utilized in a lot of different ways on the offensive front there. He holds offers from UTRGV and UTEP. And then I think he said on his Twitter that his recruitment is still open. So he's still actively looking at different colleges too. But UTRGV and UTEP are the 2 programs that have offered him so far. And he's 2025, so could be making a commitment here soon. Bay City 2025 wide receiver, Zylan Williams. I like this kid.
There are so many recruits with like that name or some version of that name. Zion Williamson, Zylan Williams, like,
and they're all good.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. That's what makes it hard when you're recruiting because it's like
crazy.
Yeah, exactly. I think Larissa did mention him. I think he's kind of a sleeper down there in the Corpus region, or the Coastal Bend region, I should say. He's committed to play at Temple, which to me it appears to be his only offer.
Okay.
So he's 2025. He's already committed to play at Temple, but I think more light needs to be shed on him. He's a really, really good player. Athleticism is what stands out to me when watching his tape. He's a good route runner. He's fast. He's got really good hands. Can go up and win a lot of those 50-50 balls. Very, very athletic. And he's also a great blocker too. Maybe a little undersized, and I think that's probably why maybe he's gone a little under the radar.
Yeah.
But he's a good competitive athlete. Really going to be an integral part of this Bay City offense heading into the playoffs. And I think he'll be a really good player at Temple if he decides to stick with Temple.
Yeah,
he
no
does
doubt.
get more offers, but that's a steal for Temple, I think. And to round it all out, Sinton 2025 running back Derek Garcia. He's currently out with an injury. He's been out since probably mid-season, I'd say.
That's why it's still been so impressive what Sinton's been able to do.
Exactly. I think he is expected to return. Now, I don't know if that's this week for their final game of the district or final game of the regular season, or if they're just saving him for the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I think he is expected to return, which is good because that means the injury is not as serious. But he's definitely a real asset to this offense, I'd say. Through 6 games this season, he's rushed for 125 yards and 8 touchdowns. He's got that breakaway speed and creates that kind of separation for himself that makes him just an explosive, dynamic running back. Again, now credit to Sinton. They haven't missed a beat without Garcia. But he is a big part of that offense and could really push Sinton over the edge into the playoffs if he does make that return. Yeah. Hoping for a speedy recovery for this guy.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
Man, he's a dynamic
So is Michael
player.
Troutman.
Correct. So there you go. Players to watch in the Coastal Bend region.